Morning, folks. So after Hillbilly sent me that muskrat pattern bullet knife, the Remington one, that little tin sign, I got to thinking I might have to buy one of those muskrat knives. I don't think so. The Remington ones, you can get old timers and different muskrat pattern knives. About everybody makes one, but this one is a little bit different. It has two different shape blades, where most of them have the same blade. It's just one on either end. Anyway, this Remington bullet knife, holy moly, they're not cheap. Look at this. This is on eBay. Look at that one. $289. $290 actually. Holy smokes. No idea they were that much money. Like I said, you can get cheaper ones. Well, let's see. Old timer muskrat pattern knife. Yeah, $23, $26, $55, $20, $15. Yeah, see, that's more in line. $100 for a pocket knife, you lose them. I'm not going to pay that. See, this is the one that I used to have, basically. It's got the same blade on either side. And the Remington ones are a little bit different. They've got a different blade on one or the other. Here's one for 99 cents. Got a bid, though. Anyway, the Remington ones, I don't see where they're worth that. And then someone was asking me yesterday about this thing. This is actually a promotion thing. I don't know who made this. I thought I'd let them know the name brand, but it's not. It's a safety award type of deal. So you can get these. There are all sorts of different ones. What it is it's a ceramic stick. Okay, what these are is it's a ceramic stick that puts a fine edge on it. Your knife has to be at least a little bit sharp, otherwise it doesn't work very well. They make them that have two. They're kind of shaped like that at a, I don't know what degree angle, but this one, it just has one, and you do so many times this side, flip it over, do so many times that side, and then each time I flip it, I do a few less. I start out with like 10, and then go to 8, and then go to 6, and on down. You want to make sure. I had one that had the double. It didn't have a guard on it. This one flips up. It's got this guard for your hand. Years ago, I didn't have one, and I got too dark in here to show you, but I got a heck of a good scar right there where I just about cut my thumb off sharpening one of these. But it does work really well. Like I say, there's all sorts of different ones, but somebody asked me about that, and while I'm thinking about that, like I say, it's a ceramic stick. It's just a really fine abrasive. You can use the bottom of a coffee cup. It has that unglazed piece on it, or the little ring around the bottom. One of those works. the bottom of a plate, a lot of times, a china type plate. Uh, It'll have that ring on it. Your car window, if you roll it down so it's only sticking up a couple inches, you can actually sharpen your knife on the glass edge of your car window. So, I mean, this is handy. I just keep this in on the windowsill. I use this all the time. I like this one. But there's others. You can get all sorts of different ones. After a while, this ceramic will get kind of plugged up. The pores on it will get plugged up with steel, and you just take it over to the sink and wash it with some like Ajax or something like that to clean it off with. Then digging around through stuff. Today was spent once again moving some more firewood and moving junk and sorting through junk, getting rid of stuff. And it's kind of funny, some of the stuff you come across that I'd forgotten about. From the black powder rendezvous, I got several of these turtle shells. They're kind of neat. We used to basically make a buckskin bag, cut this part here off, cut that off, and then drill holes in it and sew it together so you had a hinge that would fold down. Then we'd take a buckskin bag and basically just stuff it in there and glue the edges or sew the edges, and then you had like a neck cord, and this thing would just open. You'd have your bag in there for different things. And I got a couple of these left, and I'm glad I bought them. You know, you don't see these for sale really ever, and kind of feel bad for the turtles. But then I got a whole bunch of little miniature whiskey jugs that I forgot I had, and got lots of these. And I don't know, it's kind of fun when you're going through stuff and you find things you'd kind of forgotten about. And some of these, like this one, I braided a handle onto it, and at the rendezvous you'd haul this around at the campfires at night and we called it moose juice. And moose juice was basically a fruit punch that we made out of Everclear. Had a bunch of different fruit juices in it. And Greg and Jeff, they lived in a teepee in the backyard for about 6 years when they were right around high school, because they did not like living in town. They wanted out of there in the worst way. But like I said, they were in high school and they were kind of stuck there in Mom's backyard, and they made the best of things. They bought themselves a teepee and they put it in the backyard. We had a campfire in the middle, and we'd put straw around the edges and sleeping bags on top of the straw, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good parties in there and stuff. But I stayed with them for probably a couple of years, and they lived in it for about 6. But anyhow, they had a big jug. It was like one of these, but it held probably 3 gallons. It was about that big around, about that tall, maybe held more than that. And they mixed that thing up with moose juice, and like I say, it's just a kind of a fruit punch, but it's made with Everclear, so it is very, very stout. Everclear is 100 proof or 180 proof, I believe, something like that. But yeah, it's way more than 100 proof, I know that. 180, I think. But anyhow, it's it's gasoline, basically. And one day they had a party in there, and the moose juice jug was getting down toward the bottom. And so Bodine tells the one guy, Doug was his name, he tells him, he says, if you get a chunk, he says, that thing's getting kind of low and sometimes gets a little mold in there, and if you get a chunk, just chew it up and swallow it. It won't hurt you, or you can spit it into the fire if you want to. And first off, it ain't going to grow mold because of that high of proof in there. But so Doug, he picks up that big old jug, and he's getting a big gulp of it. All of a sudden, his eyeballs pop out of his head, and they're as big as silver dollars, and he's going, like that. He spit that moose juice into the fire in the middle of the camp, or in the middle of the teepee, and of course the flames jump up like 6 foot in the air, and he's going, I got a chunk, I got a chunk. And you can see it in the fire. It's this big, black, nasty looking thing. And we are all just howling, laughing. Well, Bodine, he can't breathe. He is just gasping for air, laughing so hard. And rolling around on the floor, and he is laughing so doggone hard, and the rest of us kind of quit laughing after a while. Not him. He is just beside himself, and he finally gets to the point where he can talk, and he goes, "It was an Oreo." And Doug goes, "What?" He goes, "An Oreo cookie. I put an Oreo cookie in there to get you." And it got him good, because it was this soggy, black, nasty Oreo cookie in the moonshine jug. Poor Doug. It got him good. But anyway, another time, I was over visiting my cousin Greg, and we went down to what passes for a beach in Washington State, and it's just a gravel bar, and big rocks about the size of your fists and stuff. And I didn't know anybody. I was visiting up there, or might have been, I don't know, might have been when Dad was sick. He ended up in the hospital and ended up dying from leukemia. But anyway, I think that might have been why I was there. But anyway, I didn't know none of them people. He had friends, I didn't. I didn't live there, and his friends weren't really my type of people, and I had a moonshine jug with moose juice in it, and it was like a gallon jug. I went down there, and I'm laying next to the campfire and drinking my moonshine, and all of a sudden, music's playing, the kind I don't like anyway, and like I said, I didn't know none of them people, so I was just off by myself. I was laying there by the fire and watching the flames, and all of a sudden, these blue legs come up next to me, and somebody's shining a light in my eyeballs, and I'm going, "What the heck, who are you?" And it's a cop. And I look around, all them other people scattered. They were gone. And the guy says, "What are you doing down here?" And I said, "Well, I'm just enjoying the campfire." I'm like 18, and he says, "What's in the jug?" And I says, "Moose juice. You want a swig?" He kind of laughed. Actually, I said, "You want a swigger?" And he kind of laughed, and he goes, "No." He says, "Pour it in the fire." And I said, "That ain't a good idea." He says, "Pour it in the fire." I poured it in the fire, and the flames jumped up 6-10 feet in the air, and he's going, "Holy crap, what's in that?" And I said, "Moose juice." And he's just laughing. And he goes, "Where do you live?" And I said, "I live in Oregon." And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm visiting cousin Greg." He says, "Well, where's he live?" I said, "Up the road." He says, "Well, you get on up there if you ain't driving." And I said, "Okay, I will." I'm walking, and back then cops had a sense of humor. Nowadays, I'd been locked up and probably have to go to court and all sorts of different stuff, But I don't know. That was a long time ago. Like I said, back then they used to kind of have a sense of humor. And anyway, then I found some antelope horns and all sorts of different things today. Like I say, it's kind of fun going through stuff.